Brought to you direct from Studio 3B at Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, the American Hardwood Advisor is your source for trends, tips, and insights into how the building industry has evolved. Join me, Steve Stack, along with guest builders and industry leaders as we talk shop and go in depth on what it takes to be the best of the best. Dive into topics like architecture, industry trends, project plans, historical tools, tricks of the trade, and life's lessons from more than 6 decades of experience in the hardwood lumber business. Hi everyone, we're back here again today with our friend Jon Ulicney, the craftsman who really brought Studio 3B to life here at Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods in Canfield, Ohio. Today we're going to talk about some flooring that we've used on the project and probably some other species also. And you completed this flooring install here, Jon, and you know, right now below our feet is this beautiful antique oak floor. I believe we used a 5 and 6 inch combination pattern on this one, and it really turned out nice. So, Jon, again, thanks for being here. Everything's been well?
Everything's well.
Good, good, good. Family's good?
Family's good.
Those new grandkids are good?
They're really good, yeah.
Wonderful,
yeah.
Wonderful. So part of the studio workshop area that we're in, the studio revolves around this stage that you created. And so we're using it for our podcasts and interviews. It's going to become, and it already has become, a huge asset to the company. Inviting folks in like yourself and your expertise, and whether we're talking shop or we're talking to the DIY or the folks at home that want a weekend project, we're going to have those discussions here. So you've created a real nice little corner that's going to help a lot of folks out.
Okay.
All right.
I hope so.
We didn't know that when we were doing it, did we? So, you know, we've got this flooring on the stage area here, and we thought it'd be a good idea to pull some of the antique oak element out of it. And at the far end of the workshop, we created that beautiful flat panel, square sticking antique oak door that complements each other and kind of pulls the rooms together. You installed that unit. That was a heavy bugger, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
that was good. That was good. But going back to the flooring, had you used this product, the antique oak, prior to using it on the stage here?
Yes, yeah. I have used it probably several times. I think when it first came out, I wasn't sure about it. But when you see the whole floor down, you say, this is great. It looks
you know, and I've described it numerous times to family, friends, you know, prospects, possible customers. In your words, describe the floor for me. What characteristics does it have?
I feel like I'm walking into an older building. I work in a lot of older houses in town here. I have one, for example, has the original floors from the 1860s in it, and this makes me feel like I'm walking in that house. And
so, it works to my taste and my personality, and I know you dabble in the antiques and you like some antiques, and I am the same, but it has, through the characteristics, we've got some saw kerf left in it. We have some band marks left in it.
Right.
And we have the hit and skip planing or milling in the case of the flooring. We have some of the knots, and you know, I'm looking down and I'm seeing pieces that were sawn near or close to the Y or the crotch of a tree, so you get that dense grain,
right,
and that purling effect, you know. So you've got grain variation, you've got texture variation, you have color variation, and we just clear coated this.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So you've got the different patinas of all those elements that we mentioned. You know, the saw kerf versus the plain smooth surface. Opposite ends of the spectrum as far as the colors it generates when you apply a finish to it. It really turned out to be a very interesting floor.
I love it. I think it's absolutely great. And
Durability?
durability, you have the oak durability, you have the stability of oak with it. It's all there. And then you have this interesting colors and design in it. It's just enjoyable for me to.
It really has turned out to be a nice floor. And you know, we have contractors that use our floor, and we have homeowners, DIYers that buy from Baird's. And so a big part of Studio 3B is it's going to be to give people ideas and maybe to help educate them. And before I go there, and I felt like I was just trying to sell you antique oak floor.
Yeah.
But I know if you've got a first love, and we've talked about it previously, you really enjoy the quarter sawn white oak or the quarter sawn red oak. Tell me a little bit about that. What makes it different from a plain sawn white oak or a plain sawn red?
For me, first of all, when I'm finished, I look across, it has such a flat look. It's stable. The expansion on the quarter sawn is different than what this floor would be, because this floor expands across the width where the quarter sawn expands across the length. And I just like the quarter sawn. It's just a personal preference. And we put floors in houses locally here. And then we had one customer that's always said, well, give me a suggestion. I said, why don't you try quarter sawn? And they put it in, and next thing we know, we ripped all the flooring out of the rest of the house, which was all hickory and whatever. And we ended up putting the red oak quarter sawn flooring because they just loved it so much.
And for the folks at home, the difference between the quarter sawn and the flat sawn or plain sawn, as it's referred to, is it's how the sawyer, the gentleman running the sawmill, how he addresses the log. Correct. And how he cuts in a quarter. If you imagine the end of a log and quarter it like a pie,
right,
you expose the growth lines at a different angle to the surface of the board, correct?
Correct. So
and
you have straight grains.
Okay. And in doing that, you expose, I believe it's called the medicular rays, and that throws something that is called fleck.
Right.
And so you're looking at the same piece of white oak or red oak and some of the other species, but because our eye is looking at the growth ring of that log at a different angle, it's a completely different appearance.
Right, it just comes right up.
That's a good way to say it, John. It welcomes you.
Right, and a lot of furniture was made out of quarter sawn oak, and it's just a different way, but it's a beautiful way of sawing it and making it look different. So when you have these oak floors, there's just so many ways to have it. Yeah, and you guys provide that at Baird Brothers too. Yeah,
we like selling hardwood flooring and the all of the oak family. Along with the cherry and the walnut and we try and educate folks up front. Let's leave common sense come into play. Are we putting it in a family room, high traffic area, kitchen, high traffic area? Are we going to put it in the formal dining room? Or are we going to put it in our private library or home office? We use a resource called the Janka table. Right? Measures the face density of whatever wood species we're talking about. It's a good guideline. Right. But tried and true, being here in Northeast Ohio, you've been in them, I've been in them. They knew back in the 1950s that red oak and white oak was a good hardwood floor. Good hardwood floor. And they're still in homes today, That's what I have in my house. Is I have red oak and white oak in my house. And I don't know. We weren't going to talk about it today, but that goes back to something we need to try to educate our customers a generation, and it's a word we use around here a lot, and it's value.
Right.
So we're talking about homes that the floor was installed back in the 1950s. It could have been covered in carpet the last 60 years.
Right.
Pull that carpeting up, either take the project on yourself or hire a professional floor refinisher, have him come in, and you have brand new red oak or white oak floors.
And it'll be there for years.
Right. So that initial homeowner got 60, 70 years of value.
Right.
And the new homeowners, they're right up to speed with today's trends and colors and everything about it.
Right.
So it's safe to say hardwood flooring has value.
It has value. It's probably one of the most popular jobs that in the last few years that we do. I mean, everybody wants to change the floors and install the hardwood. It's healthier for you. There's so many good aspects about putting a hardwood floor in.
Very, very true, very true. And you mentioned that you've been installing a lot of hardwood floor. We're not going to write down and tell folks step by step today, but I know a veteran craftsman like yourself, you've got some tricks, and you know some of them are very basic, some of them are more actually scientific. But tell us, you go into a home, tell us your mindset and your approach
To doing the job,
to looking at the job from somebody invites them into your home or into their home and say, John, come out and give me a price. You go to the house. I know there's certain things you look for.
Right.
Okay. Moisture being one.
Right.
Right.
Key things, first of all, what room is it in? That's the start. That's real important. When you're putting a hardwood floor, people want to put their hardwood floors in bathrooms and kitchens, and you can do it, you just have to be a little more careful about it, that's all. Making sure that you're not going to be, if wet water gets down there, that you'll be able to repair it if something would happen. And that's the other thing though, you can repair any of the floors. You need to know that.
And I'm going to interject something right there. Correct product for correct
situation,
right? And that's as simple as common sense. We still have folks that request pine flooring with the realization that pine is softer,
right,
and it's going to nick and get marked up, but that's what they're shooting for, is that distressed look. That doesn't bother them. If you want that formal, clean look, we're going to steer you to your favorite, the quarter sawn white.
right,
You're not going to beat the face density on it.
right,
It is very favorable as far as expansion and contraction, right?
right,
So there's a lot of information to be weighed out in choosing the right hardwood flooring product for your home.
right.
So with that, I mentioned moisture.
Yeah.
That is for the health of the inside environment within our homes. It's just not about our hardwood floor. It's about all the products in our home.
Right.
So we want to control that through humidification, dehumidification,
Right.
air conditioning. Two different products, two different purposes: dehumidifiers, air conditioners.
Right.
One conditions the air, the other removes moisture out of the air.
Right.
And so we highly suggest those products, and it's good for the life of the floor, right?
Right. And for example, in the summertime, you're going to remove the water out of your house where you're going to dehumidify. But in the wintertime, coming right after fall, you want to try to check your humidity in the house. You want to try to keep it around 40% if you can, 35, 40%. Because in the winter, the floors can actually shrink if there's not enough water in the house. So it's pretty much through the year keeping the house at like 40% humidity.
And over the course of the years, we've, especially with hardwood flooring, but all of the hardwood products we offer here, our interior doors, our moldings, the flooring, our wood countertops. I've used it over the years, and I describe the inside environment of your home like a pendulum. And we swing to summer, and then we swing back to winter.
Right.
And our house is doing that same thing. And it's our job as homeowners to regulate the swing of that pendulum.
Right.
That 40% number that you threw out, it's right there in the middle. We can be too dry in the winter, down 20, 15%. We start to feel it in our sinuses. And in the summer, you know, even here in Northeast Ohio, you know, we'll see humidity 70, 80%.
Right.
And that comes inside of our home.
Right.
And everything in our home, just like our bodies, react to that. And it's our job as homeowners to regulate, slow that pendulum movement, keep it stable, keep it happy, right?
And then the floor will look exactly the same all year.
You know, just for conversation's sake, you're a professional contractor, but it's not a terrible homeowner project. Do a little research, right? Educate yourself a little bit on it. But what tools are they going to need?
Basic tools, a simple cut-off saw to cut it. I would rent a power nailer. You could rent a nailer. And if you're not wanting to use a compressor, they actually have the ratchet nailers that work just fine. And chalk line, a broom, basically those are the tools. You go in, you remove your carpet, you clean the floor, you make sure there's no dust or debris. You'll look at your room, decide which way the flooring is going to run, and normally the flooring will run perpendicular to all the floor joists. And then when you decide that, then you chalk a line to get started. First 2-3 pieces on chalk lines, and after that, go right across. And you'll also have to put a underlayment paper down, and that's usually just with staples.
Yeah, and there's different options as far as the underlayment paper. You and I remember back that you used one of two things. You used 15-pound felt,
right,
or you used red rosin paper.
Red rosin paper, right.
The felt paper was acted as a moisture barrier. Moisture from whether it be the basement or a floor below was not coming up through the floor joists, through the subfloor, and getting to the underside of the hardwood floor, acting as a moisture barrier. Worked very well for years and years and years. Had a couple downfalls. If you were walking on it and then stepping up onto the floor, whether it be pre-finished or unfinished, you could track some tar emulsion up onto it. Guys love the red rosin paper. It was workable. You didn't have the tar aspect, right? And actually, correct me if I'm wrong, when you put the board down and was tapping it into the adjacent board, it actually slid quite a bit better on that red rosin than it did the tar paper.
And that was the purpose of the red rosin, to let the floor move.
Okay, so somewhere down the line a few years ago, somebody came up with a great idea, and it's a product that we handle here at Baird Brothers, the Aqua Bar. And it's a blend of a red rosin paper topped with a tar layer, emulsion, and then finally topped off with another layer of red rosin. And so you get the benefits of both. The vapor barrier protection of the tar emulsion, the workability of the red rosin. It's a great product, and I know
that's
from,
my favorite. That's the product.
And that's the product that we used underneath our antique oak floor here at Studio 3B, right? There's a lot to talk about if you do reading and research about acclimating a floor to its final environment. And there's a lot of different ways to approach that. There's a lot of influencing conditions that comes into how long you have to acclimate a floor.
Right.
Wintertime, we're very fortunate here. We like to see our floor wind up in a heated home, not temporary heat. We want furnaces running, we want air exchange occurring, and we take flooring in the wintertime especially right out of our warehouse, deliver a job site, and guys install it the same afternoon.
Right.
One thing comes into play there. All the buildings on our facility are heated. It's coming out of a heated warehouse,
Right.
conditioned at a nice relative humidity, at a 6 to 8% moisture content, and it's going to a job site with permanent heating,
Right.
functioning. That house has been conditioned to receive hardwood floor. You can put that floor in that afternoon.
Yes, we can. We do that. We usually check the basic things are you go out and I still have a little humidity where I can test the humidity. I test the subfloor always to see what the subfloor is. But most of the time in the winter when you test it, it's pretty much it's right where it needs to be and the floor can go right down. You just excuse me, you just don't drive the floor tight in the wintertime because it is going to expand because no matter how much humidity, you will get more humidity in the summer and the spring and it will expand. So you just don't want to drive that floor so tight that it can't move. That's one of the things you have
Very
to do.
much so, and you mentioned it, and it's available to the DIYers, the homeowners, and by all means, any flooring contractor should have one in their tool forte. Is a moisture meter.
Right.
National Hardwood Flooring Association, they've wrote the Bible on hardwood flooring. It's available to our viewers to visit their website. Great guidelines, great tips.
Right.
So we've had job sites where we've introduced lumber, and when lumber's received, you can stack it up in a corner, or you can rick stack it. And what's rick stack, Steve?
Yeah.
Well, you run a layer of flooring, and then you alternate your layers, and you run it the other direction. Right. And you leave space between the bundles, right?
Correct.
Why do we do that?
So air moves. We actually meet your trucks. If we're doing a hardwood floor, we'll call in and ask when will the truck be there, and they are very good about it. They'll give me a time, and we get there when the truck gets there, and then we take it all in, and we always rick stack it, so that the air can move around it, and it's not in a garage, it's not anywhere. It goes from your conditioning to the other house.
And that's just one of those tips that if there is acclimation taking place, because of the stacking procedure, it's doing it across that whole order of flooring.
Right.
The bundle on the bottom is getting the same air as the bundle in the middle.
Right.
And that's very important. Wood is still alive, and it reacts.
Right.
And you want it to react equally, and in either case, picking up moisture or taking moisture away, it's going to be done slowly. Right. But that is a natural way to keep good airflow and keep that floor happy, right? We talked about the paper and the underlayment. That's a very important process. You mentioned a few minutes ago a broom or a vacuum.
Right.
That's as common sense as it gets. You have debris on the floor,
Right.
whether it be dirt or wood shavings, whatever. If you lay your paper out and you put your hardwood floor on top of that paper and nail it down, you've got a hardwood floor, in a sense, laying on marbles.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And are you going to hear that?
You can sometimes, yeah.
Right? So that little extra 15 minutes to vacuum that room
Right.
pays dividends.
And you get a chance to look and make sure all the nails are, existing nails in the flooring that's there are down. It just gives you a couple moments to take a look at what you're doing before you start.
That's a great point, John, because whether it's as simple as going back across the floor and a tap with the hammer to reset the head of the nail into the subfloor, or in the case that the subfloors were screwed down, hitting them with a screw gun, because if you have loose underlayment, you're going to have a loose hardwood floor, and the two together are going to create squeaks.
Correct.
And nobody wants to walk across a squeaky floor unless you're a parent and you want to hear your kids coming in at night, right?
Yes.
So same thing with stairs, right?
Right, yeah.
But a very, very avoidable situation,
Yes.
So, but you have to know to do that.
Right.
And
Just simple stuff.
exactly. Exactly. It's not rocket science.
No,
Right?
and floor is a great DIY project for people. I believe you could just do it in one weekend, and especially if you use your pre-finished floors from Baird Brothers, you could put the floor in, move your furniture back on the same day, and be in it that evening.
And there's pros and cons to either.
Right.
Installing unfinished flooring or installing the pre-finished floors. That we offer them both.
Right.
And we're good with whatever the reasoning. You cannot argue the convenience of a pre-finished floor.
Right.
You literally can walk into someone's home with the floor being there. They can go to work, and maybe it's just a dining room, 12 by 16 foot dining room or 14, whatever. And in prepping your workday, having the furniture removed from that room, they can go to work. You can install hardwood floor, reinstall shoe mold quarter round,
Right.
and they can come home and move that furniture back into that room and have dinner there that evening.
Right.
Not so with the unfinished.
Right. Because you have
Take us through the steps of unfinished, finished on site.
unfinished. For example, would be probably the floor finishers. You want to use a professional finisher to come in. They will come in and they will sand probably for 6 hours on a floor, or maybe more. And after it's sanded and cleaned, they'll put their first coat of finish, and that'll have to dry overnight. Then they'll come back and give it another coat of finish. That'll dry overnight. And usually nowadays you're getting 3 to 4 coats of finish with the waterborne products they're using. Whereas with the finish the pre-finished floor, you put the floor in, clean up your mess, and you're gone, and it's done. That's it. And you have a durable finish.
Yeah, and we do here at Baird's. We offer a very good floor finish on our pre-finished products. The biggest limitation are the color choices. We offer 9 or 10 now different color choices on all of the different species of wood. And if it's a large enough project, we will look at creating a custom color for folks. But the advantage to the unfinished install, and then you've seen it hundreds of times, I've witnessed it, the floor finisher will come in, and whether that homeowner is trying to match some of the wood assets of their furniture, end tables,
Right.
couch arms, whatever the case may be, the hutch that they love and they want that color, a floor finisher can come in and he'll do 2 by 2 square swatches, 2 foot by 2 foot square swatches, and apply different variations of color,
Correct.
stains, to match whatever that other decorating,
Right.
whether it be the couch or the coffee tables or the hutch. And the homeowner will walk in and I like the one in the middle. And
they'll finish it that way.
and that professional floor finisher has dialed that in to match that furniture piece, that furniture element exactly. So that is one of the largest, in my mind, one of the biggest advantages of the unfinished.
It also, too, if you have people put additions on, and we'll go back out and we'll add on to the floor, we'll extend the floor out for them. And then in that case, the in-house finisher will come in and he can make a perfect match going out. And usually, what if it's one of your pre-finished floors, we can get it matched up here. But I mean, but a lot of times you have older oak floors that are down, and you're just going to, and they can come in and make it look just like the older oak floor.
So there's
different ways.
I don't even want to say there's disadvantages to one or the other.
Yeah.
I'm going to be more positive and say you have to look for the advantages that fit your project the best.
That's what you do. What works for you best.
Right.
And if you can use pre-finished for the ease of it, that's a good way to go if you can.
One of the other biggest design approaches for years and years and years, hardwood floors were what we call a square edge floor.
Correct.
Meaning that when the two independent pieces were married together with the tongue and groove, that surface was flush and a seamless joinery, right?
Correct.
That it does require a sanding, on-site finishing, and the old school process. With pre-finishing becoming more and more popular over the years, a new name, a new description has evolved, and we call it micro V. So the reason for the micro V, it is a very softly broken edge on both the tongue and groove side on the face of the board. We pre-finish it. And when those boards are married on the job site, if there's the slightest difference in height, whether it be because of installation, whatever the case, that micro V actually disguises that elevation change.
Right, correct.
And it allows you to install a pre-finished floor in your home. And it's not the old deep V groove that we're familiar with. And that's why it's referred to as a micro V. It will identify the individual boards a little more so, but it serves the purpose of allowing us to pre-finish the floor and have it installed in your home.
And it's so minute. We use that a lot, but we got back to the flat floors. It seems like that's coming back in style again. We're getting people that are wanting their floors, because we can't do it pre-finished, but they want that flat look. They don't want any V's or anything in it. So that's where we're getting the unfinished floors, where we're putting them in right now.
The square edge.
The square edge where
is not that you can't accomplish a traditional or formal look with the micro V edge,
right.
But if you're going to be a strict traditionalist,
correct, it would be,
or a very staunch formal, you're going to elect to go the extra mile and put the square edge, unfinished, job site finished floor in, right?
Yes, I have square edge in my house, but I replaced a floor here last year, and I went with your the micro V, and it looks just perfect in there. I'm really happy with it.
And that's it. And we have samples in our showroom illustrating both. Coming back to our antique floor, antique oak floor here at the studio, it has the micro. It fits this floor, this area very well, but in stating that, the antique oak floor, John, is kind of unique in our product offerings as far as hardwood floors. Was there anything different as far as the installation of this floor versus, let's go to the other end of the spectrum, that everybody knows, the old 3/4 by 2 1/4 square edge red oak flooring. You know, the traditional, what we called strip flooring.
Right.
Any difference in the installation?
It's quicker. This is a lot quicker. When you have 6-inch and 5-inch floor, you have 6-inch floor, for example, you're putting 3 boards down with the old way as you're putting 1 to get the same area. So for a DIY situation, this is perfect. And I just take a little more concern when I have my end to make sure we have enough expansion. And I'm careful on how I nail this floor too. I don't drive it so tight because the 6-inch board and the 5, I tend to think there might be a little more growth.
Well, and that's a great point. And I referenced the National Hardwood Flooring Association earlier. They, like I say, they have some great guidelines to follow, along with a lot of great information. Mm-hmm. But as an industry standard, a 2 1/4 inch oak strip floor is allowed to grow or to contract and create a gap between the boards the thickness of a dime. They deem that normal and acceptable gapping. Mm-hmm. That's a 2 1/4 inch width board. We've used 6-inch material here, right, just shy of 3 times the width. Mm-hmm. Longer growth ring, more expansion and contraction. Right. So you can see up to, very possibly, 2 or 3 times the expansion and contraction in a wider plank floor than you can a traditional strip 2 1/4 inch flooring, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that has to be taken into consideration. Right. And to your point, as far as allowing the grow room to the perimeter walls, right, and just being aware of that, okay, the floor's in, your job's over, but the homeowner's job just begins.
Right.
In maintaining the environment inside of that home.
Correct. It's very important.
And something we always like, not that we like it, we appreciate it when we have homeowners call in early. Mm-hmm. And they say, my floor's changing a little bit.
Right.
What's it doing? Well, you can only realize so much through a phone conversation. Mm-hmm. Maybe send some pictures. If you're in our local area, we might suggest having one of our representatives stop out and take some moisture test, take some relative humidity test. And at that point, what we say before we completely lose the floor due to unacceptable conditions or environment situation, whatever it may be, now we can take corrective measures to reel that floor back in and get it settled and happy again.
Right.
So it's paying attention. It's just like your refrigerator.
Yeah.
If your refrigerator starts making noise, you call the serviceman.
Right.
Right? Then it's the same thing with the hardwood floor. You pay attention to it.
And you can lose the floors real quick.
Very much so.
You get somebody that would be, for example, when the floor is not fully expanded, they drive it so tight, and then the humidity goes up, and then the floor starts to peak at the joints.
Yep.
And before it gets too bad, if then you can get the humidity down, it will go back. But if you let it go, it'll be very hard to get them back.
And that's, it really doesn't matter whether we're talking about carpeting, whether we're talking about linoleum, marble, porcelain tile, or hardwood floor. Right. There's a certain amount of care involved for any of the product lines. Right. So we've discussed today. We talked about our antique oak floor here that I'm really pleased with. We talked about your favorite, the quarter sawn white. We have the red oak species, the plain sawn white oak species. We have the cherry, the maple. The hickory is very popular right now, both in the select grade and the character grade. It's a little temperamental.
Yes.
It will historically react quicker to atmospheric changes than some of the other species.
Right.
So you're gonna babysit that one, but it will make you a lifelong floor. So you mentioned an addition, or purchasing a home that has existing floor and you want to add another room or two. You can accomplish that.
Right.
We might have a Keller that's close enough. You might have to go the on-site finishing way, but we've talked Kellers, installation, finishing, a few hints here. Some very basic information. But I invite people all the time, visit the National Hardwood Flooring Association's website.
Right.
Call a reputable contractor like yourself. Call our folks, and we'll walk you through and make sure that you wind up with that beautiful hardwood floor that you're imagining.
Now, the salesmen here really have a real good grip on it because they've been around it for so long. They understand about the expansion and contraction of it. They understand how to help the homeowner get through purchasing it and helping with the colors.
And through those resources, your contractor, National Hardwood Flooring Association, the salespeople here at Baird Brothers, we're going to accomplish a beautiful floor for you.
Yes.
So, John, again, thanks for visiting this afternoon. Appreciate it.
All right.
And I hope the work continues good, but don't work too hard, okay?
I love working. I love going out every day.
All right, you take care, buddy.
Thank you.
For all you folks listening, thanks for talking shop with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. If you've enjoyed this episode and want to stay up to date with the American Hardwood Advisor series, give us a like and subscribe. For more tips, projects, and inspiration, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, or at bairdbrothers.com. Until next time,